there's kind of a perception right now that Black Lives Matter as an organization, not as a slogan or a truth claim, but Black Lives Matter represents, quote, the Black voice, the Black voice. And if you veer from that, then clearly you're just showing your own either white fragility or your white supremacy. Those are kind of the only options. Either you acknowledge you're racist, in which case you're a racist, or you deny you're a racist, in which case obviously you're racist, right? It's this catch-22 is kind of this kind of Kafka trap that we're caught in. Well, think of it this way. I made this point 3 weeks ago. I was in Phoenix speaking at an event, and I shared Monique's story. I'm sure many of the listeners are familiar with that, and shared just a few statistics that I found when I was researching for the book, Confronting Injustice Without Compromising Truth. These were some things that just shocked me in my research. So let me just break down a few of these. Harvard scholar Ethan Foss found that 30% of the American Black community at most, 30% at most, believe the system is stacked against them. According to Pew Research, less than 1 in 3 Black people without college degrees believe that their race has made it harder for them to succeed, just 29%. The stats go on. 60% of the Black community in America believe that, quote, race has not been a factor in their success or failures. According to, there's a nonpartisan research group called PRRI. They did a recent study that showed that a greater share of Black and Hispanic Americans, more than white Americans, agree that, quote, children from different social classes have adequate opportunities to be successful. Blacks are more likely than whites to say that a lack of motivation to work hard may be holding Blacks back. So more Blacks believe that than whites. And so I share those stats, and there was another article that just came out recently in a sociology journal by Musa Al-Garbi that shows that what we think is, quote, the Black voice is actually the white liberal voice by a substantial margin. And this is where a lot of the church thinks, hey, we're stepping up, we're standing up for the Black voice. It's like, be careful, because that voice is actually the white liberal voice based on the hard evidence. And so I think that's an important component to throw into this conversation, because otherwise Christians are thinking, oh, I'm muting the Black voice. There's a long history of muting the Black voice by white evangelicals. We need to prevent that history. But in citing Robin DiAngelo and citing Ibram X. Kendi and citing Ta-Nehisi Coates and folks like that, it just might be that we're highlighting a voice that is, I mean, it's frankly condescending to say something like the Black voice about 35 million plus Americans.
I just said it the other day. To me, the worst voice for the Black voice, if you even want to consider there being a Black voice, I think that just leads into tribalism. But the worst voice for the Black voice is the woke voice, the woke white voice, because I just see so much coming out of the white woke movement, if I can call it that really isn't in line with, to me, what Black people need, especially like Blacks living in places like Flint, Michigan, or, South Central Los Angeles, or in, really impoverished areas and dealing with a lot of stuff. It's like, well, to me, as I observe the woke white person, it's a lot of things that, I could see maybe trying to be compassionate or, one out. But in reality, if you don't understand what's really happening within a community and what all those things are that go into play in that, it's not a big help. And if we're just creating more systems and programs, I don't know that that's going to be a help either. So yeah, the woke white voice, to me, I'm like, yeah, the struggle is real. It is real. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because to me, it just shows that there are even, numbers that support that, no, these things might not be as big as what leftist media is putting out there. And yet people are grabbing onto it, especially within evangelicalism. They're like grabbing on it and wanting to run with it, and it might be a false narrative.